With the NHL season officially underway, we discuss our hopes, dreams, and aspirations for this year's Montreal Canadiens. Get out the Kleenex box, folks. It's going to be a tearjerker. This is Hockey Inside Out. Welcome to the first official episode of the 2018-2019 regular season. I'm Adam Susser, and I'm here as always with Mr. Stu Cowan, CBC Daybreak's Jessica Rusnak, and Chris Knuckles-Nyland. Let's get down to business. Jack Hughes is the most exciting player projected to go first overall in next year's NHL entry draft. He led Team USA to the title at the World Under-17 Hockey Challenge back in November with a dominating performance. With the Canadiens in full rebuild mode, do you think they should lose for Hughes and slack for Jack, or do they have what it takes to make a legitimate run at the playoffs this year?
Don't let Mark Bergevin hear you use the word rebuild or reset.
Oh, I'm sure he's not watching, so it's okay.
Well, I think Ottawa will be worse than the Canadiens this year, but I think the Canadiens will end up in the lottery for that. So, I mean, there's no guarantee now. If you finish last year, you're going to get the number one pick, but I think the Canadiens will have a chance at lose for Hughes.
Yeah.
And the worst part for Ottawa is that Colorado has their first round pick.
Can you imagine? Oh,
Colorado fans are cheering for them to really suck this year, but I think the disappointing thing with the Canadiens, I don't have them making the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be bad enough to really be in the mix to get the first overall pick, I should say.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be in the hunt for that at all. I think they're going to be about 10 points better than last year, and I don't even know why I'm talking about Jack Hughes because it's not going to happen.
well, it's a crapshoot too. The lottery is a crapshoot.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what's going
to.
to.
And the losing part just, even though the Canadiens on paper probably aren't the best team in the league, they got a lot of young guys in there. They got a lot of hungry guys. They got a lot of proud guys up front. And when I look at the leadership group and Byron and Gallagher leading the charge. Some of them young kids can't help but follow. So I think they're going to surprise us. Again, they're not. I don't believe they'll make the playoffs, but they're going to be a better hockey team, and they're going to compete a lot better than they did last year.
They should be more fun to watch playing the young kids. It's going to be interesting to see how Claude Julien, if he lets the young kids make mistakes, because I think that's going to be the key. You got to let these kids make mistakes and put them back. You can't have them worried every mistake they make, they're going to end up in the press box or whatever. It's a team that got shut out 12 times last year and scored one goal 14 times. And they were dreadful to watch. So for Canadiens fans, I think the good news is they should be a lot more fun to watch, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
Do you see the core developing into a team that will eventually be a strong playoff contender?
Well,
maybe even cup contender with what they have, even though it's very early?
Well, I think, as Stu was saying, that if Claude Julien lets the young players go out there and make mistakes and not play afraid that if they do make a mistake that they're going to be nailed to the bench afterwards, that could really help them. And this is what this whole season, if you want to look at it, could be, because the expectations are so low. And if they learn from their experiences from this year, it can only help them in the end. But it's hard to say. Like, we're going to have to see how these players develop and how they're able to mature into the NHL players that they're hoping that they could be.
Well, that's where Dominic Ducharme comes into play also. Victor Mete, I was talking to him after one of the practices, and he said that the system the Canadiens are playing now is similar to the system Team Canada played at the World Juniors with Dominic Ducharme as the coach. So he has more of, I think, is a younger guy who can maybe relate a little better to the younger players than Claude Julien can. And I think Claude Julien is smart enough to realize he can delegate some of that stuff to Ducharme. And it's going to come down to Carey Price. I mean, if Carey Price is as bad as he was last year, the Canadiens could finish last.
I think Claude has to change, and I think he has in some ways, and he will continue to evolve. This hasn't been easy for him, I don't think. A guy who coached a certain way his whole career, but the infusion of the new coaching staff, the young talent, he's almost forced into doing it. But I think he's starting to make those changes. We'll see it in training camp, the way the team is playing. They seem to be pushing the pace a little more. As far as the Stanley Cup or the makings of it, it's so far off. You look at the defense and the size of this team, and it's always been an issue here, the size of this team, but for a team to go far in the playoffs and win, you need those centermen, you need the D-men, which they're not great on the back end. But you need some size up front to go long in the playoffs, and that's one thing they certainly don't have.
And they need a healthy Shea Weber, and nobody knows what Shea Weber is going to look like when he comes back in December. 33 years old, foot surgery, knee surgery, that's a lot to come back from.
He's a new captain, though. Mm-hmm. What, if anything, excites you most about this new Canadiens team?
Well, Jesperi Kotkaniemi is the obvious the answer to that. I think the kid surprised everybody. I mean, I was in Laval when he played the first game at the Rookie Showdown. The kid looked lost. He might have been one of the worst players on the ice. And I was thinking to myself, man, this kid, never mind not playing in the NHL this year. Like, he doesn't look like he's going to be playing in the NHL for a while. And then he just got better every day after that. Just got better and better and better. He's only 18, but he's mature beyond his years. He's a confident kid. He's a lot of fun to watch. And I think just watching the kids, Mete and Julien together, I want to watch them. And Charles Hudon, see if he can come up. So as I was saying earlier, I think they're going to be fun to watch. They're not going to win. They're going to lose more games than they win, but they're going to be fun to watch, I think.
And it's going to be interesting to see how Max Domi does over here with the Montreal Canadiens after being in Arizona, a market that doesn't get all that much attention. He's going to have so much attention going forward now. And of course, the way the preseason started for him, I'm sure he's going to want to sort of change the reputation that he got. And there's going to be a lot of pressure for him to score goals here, especially depending when Alex Galchenyuk does get healthy. What he does in Arizona, he's always going to be compared to that guy.
Yeah, I love looking at all the young guys that have come in here, the new blood that's here. It'd be fun to watch them this season, no question about that. But the guy I want to see is Thomas Tatar. Mm-hmm. He's flying under the radar right now. Nobody's talking about him. It's all Julien, Kotkaniemi, Mete, Julien, this one, that one. And Thomas Tatar is going to be a big piece of the puzzle here if this team wants to have success there. Power play, he's going to have to execute. He's going to have to finish. And 5-on-5. I like this player. Listen, he hasn't proven to have the numbers of Max Pacioretty, but he definitely has the potential to score 25 goals for sure. And maybe more. It depends on the power play time and how he does 5-on-5.
The other one's Jonathan Drouin, with the new position, the hair flowing out of the back. I mean, he looked good early, and the thing, my concern is, I know the last preseason game in Ottawa, I think it was the second goal, he's back checking, he stops skating at center ice, coasts into the zone, leaves his man wide open, and he scores. I mean, it's only preseason, but he can't do that during the regular season. This guy was minus 31 or something last year. He's on the wing, he has less defensive responsibilities, but he still has to play some defense.
So if Brendan Gallagher was this player last year, who do you think will be the strongest leader and the biggest standout for the Habs this year? You only got to pick one. Who's it going to be?
Brendan Gallagher.
Since you took Gallagher, I'll say Paul Byron.
Yeah?
Well, there's no one left to take anymore,
Yeah.
so.
How do as I say to people,
one of these players.
how do you
Maybe
not?
Kotkaniemi will have the biggest improvement, and he'll continue to improve all the time.
I don't.
Even more than
it's going to be
expected.
interesting to see because he's the only thing, he's not that physically strong. So it's going to be interesting to see how. But he's so smart with the puck, and he's got good vision, and he does all the things that you can't teach. I mean, eventually he's 6'2", he's a legit 6'2", and he's like 184, but he'll be 200 pounds when he's full grown. But I think he's smart enough to. He was saying the biggest difference that he's noticed from the big rink to the small rink is how much guys chip it off the boards, and compared to in Europe, and I think that might help his game as far as just chipping it and then going around guys and getting the puck. So it's how long he's going to last. We'll see. I mean, you might see 4 games and he just can't compete. But I wouldn't bet against this kid right now.
Okay. I still didn't get your answer, Jess.
I don't have one. It's Paul Byron or Brendan Gallagher.
Listen,
How do you not like Paul Byron?
You're getting paid to show up. You got to play. What will the Canadiens' biggest weakness be this season?
Their defense. They right now, up until December, they don't have a number one defenseman. When Shea Weber comes back, he will be there. It will be that one. But then who plays with Shea Weber? If you don't have a top pairing defenseman, that's a big concern with this team.
Yeah, I think the defense, when Weber comes back, I think we might see him with Victor Mete again. I mean, Mete started last season with him. Mete is so much more, he even said he's more confident this year. Like last year he came in, he didn't know if he was going to stay. He didn't know if he was going to go to the World Juniors. Like last year he said it was a roller coaster ride for him. He never knew what was going to happen to him. Now he knows. He's here, he's going to stay here all year. He's a really good player, and he fits into this new system that Claude Julien wants to play. Just in the preseason game, just look at the way he's pinched in and pinched in. And he and Julien together, I thought were a good pair. Julien would hold back. They're juggling the defense pairings a little bit, but Mete's a guy I really want to watch. I really like this guy. I think he's a great hockey player.
Yeah, you have to go with the D, other than center ice position. Kotkaniemi, that's great, but after that, it's I like to know, but until he's a third line center here, that situation isn't cleaned up. So I'd say defense. They're missing Schlemdog Millionaire. That's a tough one. Honestly, he was having a good camp, and we didn't see much of him last year. He got hurt at the beginning, now he gets hurt again. So I think it's going to be the D as far as a weak spot.
Well, as you mentioned with Danault, when Danault is eventually the third center on this team, that's when they're going to be a good team. That's when you hope Kotkaniemi and Ryan Poehling maybe come along, or Domi. And if Philip Deneau is your third line center, you got a pretty good hockey team.
Do you see Jeff Petrie bouncing back this year, having a good season?
It's going to be tough with him with Weber gone. He's going to be logging more minutes and playing against more top-line offensive players than he's used to. He'll do his best. I mean,
but he's no Shea Weber.
But there's very few, if any, players that are Shea Weber.
Yeah, he's going to have a tough time, I think, if he doesn't keep it simple. You know, he was asked to do so much last year. It was in over his head. And, you know, people say, 25, 26 minutes a game. You get that kind of ice time, man, it wears on you during the game. I don't care what kind of shape you're in, mentally, physically. It's very difficult to put those minutes up every night in those important minutes, killing penalties on the power play, that regular shift. You know, you can't take a shift off. You have to be on your toes all the time, and he was victimized by that quite a few times last year.
That's been a problem with the Canadiens for a long time. Excuse me, just that guys playing where they shouldn't be. Like Philip Deneau's not a number 1 or 2 center. Jeff Petrie's not a number 1 defenseman. He's a number 3. You have guys playing where they shouldn't be, and that's been a problem for a while.
Well, another guy is Jordy Ben. Everyone's been hating on Jordy Ben, but he's not supposed to be, a 3-4 defenseman or a second line defenseman. That he's really like a 5th or 6th.
Right now he's a 7.
Yeah, like it's just last year, when people were getting really upset with him, that that's not the guy he's supposed to be.
Which player do you think will surprise fans most this season?
Go for
I
it,
think
Jess.
that is the indication that right now there isn't a player that I'm all that excited to see, or if I am, it's because I know what they can do, but I don't necessarily. I'm going to just go with Carey Price because I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think that he's really going to bounce back and he's going to be able to have a much better season than he did last year. But there's not too much to be super excited about.
I'm going to steal Knuckles' guy and say Tatar. I think this is, the guy's a proven 20-goal scorer. He's going to get more opportunities on the power play here maybe and playing with some better players. So it's, I think he could surprise. And as Knuckles said, if he can replace the 30 goals that Max Pacioretty used to score, obviously that's going to help this team a lot.
I'm going to say Domi. And I think just from the goal scoring aspect, that, what did he have last year? How many
9
goals?
and 4 were empty netters.
Yeah, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people as far as the goal scoring part. So I'm going to go with Domi. You can steal my guy.
I think
I only did that because I'm sitting so far from you, Knuckles.
I think Kotkaniemi will continue to improve and maybe see more time on the Habs than most people think.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be a surprise. I think yes and no, because people really.
He's already been a surprise.
He's already been a surprise. So anything he does from here on continues to surprise, I guess. Yeah.
During the offseason, the Canadiens replaced assistant coaches J.J. Daigneault and Dan Lacroix for Luke Richardson, who was an assistant coach of the Islanders last year, and Dominique Ducharme, who really was a standout coach in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. What impact do you see these two assistant coaches having on the team?
A big one, I think. This is a young team, and these are younger coaches. And I think they're guys that will really relate well to the younger players. I think I mentioned on previous shows that they're like two guys that are pretty cool guys. Like when you talk to them, and the same with Joel Bouchard and Laval, they seem like guys that would relate really well to the younger players. Luke Richardson's also a bit of an imposing figure. I think guys will, I was asking Noah Juleson and Victor Mete, they're too young to see him play. I said, have you guys gone back and looked at any YouTube videos of him? And they both smiled and laughed and said, yeah, he was a pretty tough guy. So I think
you can see the scars on his face
exactly.
now too.
So I think he has instant respect just from his playing career. I think Ducharme, from what he's done with the World Juniors and everything, I think they were really good hires. And I think Joel Bouchard and Laval was a fantastic hire also.
One of the guys on the coaching staff from many years that people talk about is Kirk Muller, and the way that he's able to be a coach and a friend. And I think the other two guys are more the kind of Kirk Muller type of coach that you're not too afraid to go up and talk to them about something, that they're very open to, being there and having a discussion with you. And I think that's what you need when you have a younger team, so that players aren't too intimidated by the coaching staff.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a good impact on the young guys for sure. The guys who need to be burped and chained and fed their pablum. And yeah, it'll be good.
I love the fact that Richardson said that he likes going on the ice sometimes with his equipment and tells the guys, if you want to take a shot at me, here's your chance, but be careful what comes back at you.
I like Ducharme because he's got a really good haircut, and I'm slowly...
Hey. Sensitive topic here.
Sorry. Well, that is all the time we have. Who do you think is going to be the biggest surprise this season? Let us know in the comments section below. Check with us back here next Thursday, and also check in throughout the week because we release bonus videos every couple of days. My name is Adam Susser. I'll see you next week.